Hello everyone and welcome back to Cute Crochet. My name is Sri and in today's video I am going to show you how to make this cute little sun amigurumi. It belongs in a set of many small amigurumis I have been making lately and I have a very special project planned for these guys. On my channel I already have videos for the moon, owl, rainbow and bee, and as for the other two guys, let me know if you want the pattern. I am going to put them all together into a baby mobile for my baby nephew. I think it's going to be super cute. So let's get started making the sun. For the face, I am starting with a yellow 4-ply yarn. With it is recommended to use a 4mm crochet hook, but I am using a 3mm crochet hook instead. While making amigurumis, I like to go a few sizes down for my hook so that my stitches are nice and tight and my stuffing doesn't show through. Start by making a magic circle. To do that, wrap your yarn up and over your finger like so, forming a cross in the front. Then insert your hook underneath the cross. Take the yarn from the other side and pull through. Then yarn over again and pull through the loop on your hook, and that finishes the magic circle that we are now going to work into. Now chain 1 to start. Then into this magic circle we are going to make 8 single crochets. To make a single crochet, insert your hook into the magic circle and pull up a loop. You will have 2 loops on your hook like this. Yarn over and pull through 2, and that finishes 1 single crochet stitch. Let's do that again. Insert your hook into the magic circle and pull up a loop. 2 loops on your hook like so. Yarn over and pull through 2. Now continue to make 6 more single crochets into this magic circle for a total of 8. You'll notice that I'm working over this tail as I go, and if it runs out you can pull on it to cinch the circle a little bit and then you can continue to work over it. After you're finished making the 8 single crochets, pull on this tail to cinch the magic circle completely closed, and that brings you to the end of round 1. This amigurumi is going to be worked in continuous rounds, so we have to mark the last stitch of the round. For that I am using a paper clip and placing it into the last stitch, but you can use anything to do this. You can use a yarn in a different color or you can use a proper stitch marker available in the market. For round 2, we are going to be increasing in every stitch. An increase is simply placing 2 single crochets into one stitch. For that, first insert your hook into that first stitch. It might be a little tight, so I find it easier to loosen it a little bit with my crochet hook first. Then into that stitch place 1 single crochet. Then place 1 more single crochet into that same stitch. Now we have made 1 increase in the first stitch. Again make 2 single crochets into the second stitch. In this way we are going to increase in every stitch all the way around. When you reach the last stitch of the round where you have the stitch marker, simply remove it and place 2 single crochets into that stitch as well. This brings us to the end of round 2. At the end of round 2, you will have 16 single crochet stitches. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker into that new last stitch. Here my center is not completely closed, so I'm pulling on that tail to cinch it up more. I think that's as good as it's going to get. For round 3, we are going to be increasing in every alternate stitch. So place one single crochet into that first stitch. Then place 2 single crochets into the next stitch, which is one increase. Then again one single crochet into the next stitch. Then 2 single crochets into the next stitch. Continue repeating like this: 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 6 more times all the way around for a total of 8 times. Once you have reached the last stitch, remove that stitch marker and then place 2 single crochets into the last stitch. If you have done your counting correctly, you should always be placing 2 single crochets into the last stitch of every increased round. If you are not doing that, then you have done something wrong in your counting and you might have to recheck your work. As always, don't forget to replace your stitch marker, and this brings us to the end of round 3. At the end of round 3, you will have 24 single crochet stitches. For round 4, make 1 single crochet into the first stitch, 1 single crochet into the second stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the third stitch. Again, make 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches and then increase in the third stitch. Continue repeating like this: 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches and then increase 6 more times for a total of 8 times. I'm going to finish this round in the same way and then I'm going to meet back up with you. Here I am at the last 3 stitches. 1 single crochet into the third last stitch, 1 single crochet into the second last stitch, then remove the stitch marker and place 2 single crochets into the last stitch. Replace the stitch marker into the last stitch of the round, and this brings you to the end of round 4. At the end of round 4, you will have 32 single crochet stitches. For round 5, make 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches. Then increase. Again, 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. In the next stitch, again increase. Continue repeating like this, 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches and then increase 6 more times for a total of 8. I'm going to finish this round in the same way and then I'm going to meet back up with you. Here I'm at the last 4 stitches, 1 single crochet into the next 3. Then into the last stitch 2 single crochets. Replace your stitch marker and this brings you to the end of round 5. At the end of round 5 you will have 40 single crochet stitches. For round 6, which is our last increase round, 1 single crochet into the first 4 stitches. Then into the next stitch increase. Then again 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches and then increase. Continue repeating like this 6 more times all the way around. I am going to finish this round and meet back up with you. Here I am at the last 5 stitches, 1 single crochet into the next 4. Then increase in the last stitch. Replace your stitch marker and this brings you to the end of round 6. At the end of round 6 you will have 48 single crochet stitches. Round 7 is going to be really simple. Simply place 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. At the end of round 7, you will have the same stitch count as round 6, which is 48. Round 8 is going to be the exact same thing as round 7, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. At the end of round 8, you will again have the same stitch count, which is 48. At this point, your work should start to curl up a little bit like this. Then to finish up, I am going to make one slip stitch into the next stitch like so. And then I am going to chain one and fasten off, leaving a long enough tail for sewing. Make sure that your tail is long enough to go around the circle 3 times. Leave it even longer than I did. You are going to need to make 2 of these pieces. For the other piece, I just simply fastened off and left a short tail for weaving in. We are going to sandwich these 2 pieces back to back and sew around them and then stuff. But before that, I am going to place my safety eyes. If you guys have watched any of my previous amigurumi videos, you would know that for the eyes, I usually stick on some black beads with fabric glue and call it a day. That is okay to do if you are making a keychain, for example, or something that is just going to be on display and no one is going to play with it. But since this is for my nephew, I went ahead and bought some safety eyes. I bought this box off of Amazon, and since I bought it in bulk, it wasn't that expensive. Here I am simply deciding which size to use. I finally decided on the 6mm ones, so I am now pushing one in. Safety eyes look like a screw and they come with a backing so that they won't come off even if they're pulled down. Alternatively, you can also embroider on the eyes if you don't have safety eyes. In that case, the embroidery should be done at the end after stuffing the piece. Here I am putting in the two eyes in between rounds 4 and 5, 10 stitches apart. Then once you are happy with the placement, put in the backings. They should click in place pretty easily and be nice and secure. Make sure to push them in all the way. There we go. After placing the eyes, we are now going to sew the two face pieces together. Place the two pieces backside to backside like so, and we are going to sew them using that longer tail. Tuck that smaller tin in. Then line the two pieces up. We are going to sew using a yarn needle. Go in through the back loop of one of the stitches on the opposite side. We are going to sew through the back loops of the stitches only, forming a ladder stitch. Continue sewing like this all the way around until there is a small opening remaining. Then we are going to stuff the piece. When there is about 1 inch of opening remaining, we are going to stuff the piece. Don't go too overboard with the stuffing here. We still want it to be relatively flat. Just flush it out a little bit. That amount is good. Now I'm going to sew it up the rest of the way. After sewing, leave that yarn tail for now. You can also leave that needle on. We are going to sew the sun rays with it. For the sun rays, I am going to use this orange color yarn, and with it I am going to make a magic circle in the same way as before. Then chain 1 to start, and into the magic circle make 6 single crochets. After making the 6 single crochets, pull pull on this tail to cinch the magic circle completely closed. And this brings us to the end of round 1. At the end of round 1, you will have 6 single crochet stitches. This again is going to be worked in continuous rounds, so you need to mark the last stitch of the round. For round 2, we are going to make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. So go into that first stitch to make a single crochet. Then continue to make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. When you reach the last stitch, remove the stitch marker and place 1 last single crochet into that last stitch as well. Always remember to mark the last stitch of the round, and this brings us to the end of round 2. At the end of round 2, you will have 6 single crochet stitches. Your piece will start to curl up pretty heavily at this point, so we need to flip it inside out like this. For round 3, we are going to be increasing in every alternate stitch. So 1 single crochet into that first stitch. At this point, the stitches will be a little spread out, so make sure that you are going into the right one. Then 2 single crochets into the second stitch. Then 1 single crochet into the third stitch. Then 2 single crochets into the fourth stitch. One single crochet into the fifth stitch. Then removing the stitch marker, 2 single crochets into the last stitch. This brings us to the end of round 3. At the end of round 3, you will have 9 single crochet stitches. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker. For round 4, simply make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. At the end of round 4, you will have 9 single crochet stitches. For round 5, 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. Then 1 increase into the third stitch. Again 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Again increase. Again 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Then removing the stitch marker, 2 single crochets into the last stitch. At the end of round 5, you will have 12 single crochet stitches. Then to finish it off, slip stitch into the next stitch. Then chain 1 and fasten up, leaving a little bit of tail for weaving in. Then tuck the tail into the cone shape. Then pinch the cone shape into a triangle. You will notice that there will be 6 single crochets on each side of the triangle. We need to make 8 of these pieces in total. Now we are going to sew the sun rays to the face. Bring in the first ray. Now we are going to go through those front loops of the last round of the face that are visible right there. Then go through the first stitch of the triangle. Make sure that you are going through only one side. Then go through the next front loop and then the next stitch of the triangle. We are going to continue repeating like this, attaching one stitch of the face to one stitch of the triangle. There should be the exact number of stitches needed for this. For one side of the triangle, you should be sewing through 6 stitches and then the back should remain open like this. Then bring in your next triangle. Continue to sew it on in the same way. Don't leave any stitches in between the two sun rays. Now continue repeating like this for all 8 triangles. I am going to finish this and meet back up with you. Here I am sewing on the last triangle. Then turn your work over and we are going to sew up the back sides of the triangles as well in the exact same way. On the back side of each triangle there should be 6 stitches remaining. We are going to pick up one stitch from the face and then one stitch from the triangle and stitch through them. We are going to continue to repeat this all the way around for all of the triangles. Here I am stitching the back side of the last triangle. You should have 6 stitches on the back of the triangle and then 6 stitches remaining on the face. We are going to stitch through them. You will notice that I had to add some extra yarn because I ran out of my yarn tail before. I do have a bad habit of leaving shorter yarn tails than I need to. That's why I told you to leave a longer yarn tail than I did. Then weave in that yarn tail under a couple of the stitches and then cut the excess yarn. Now all that's left is putting on the smile and the cheeks. For the smile, I am using some black yarn and a yarn needle. Come in through the back of the amigurumi and out the front in between the two eyes. Don't pull that yarn tail all the way through. Here I have gone in between rounds 2 and 3. Then go straight across and make a straight line with the yarn and then come back out in between that straight line. This point should be more or less centered with respect to the straight line. Here I think the smile is a bit too deep, so I will travel my yarn up a little bit. This should be good. Now I am going to catch that straight line loop. Then go back in through that same hole that we came out of. And then bring that yarn tail to the back out through the same hole that we came in through. And there we go. Then at the back, tie a knot with the two yarn tails. Then cut the excess yarn and then hide the knot into the body using the back of your yarn needle. For the cheeks, I am using some pink yarn. Start by making a magic circle. Chain 1 to start and then place 6 single crochets into the magic circle. Then cinch the magic circle closed by pulling on this tail. Then slip stitch into the first stitch to join, and that finishes the cheek. Fasten off, leaving a long enough tail for sewing on the cheek. We will need to make 2 of these pieces. With the help of a yarn needle, bring that yarn tail to the back of the disc by going into the next stitch like so. And this will form a nice round circle. I have already sewn on one of the cheeks and I am going to show you how to sew it on the other side. Make sure that you are placing it symmetrically under the eye off to the side. While sewing appliques like this, I like to keep my stitches hidden. So I am taking one loop from the body and one loop from the back of the cheek like so. Keeping all the stitches at the back like this makes it look nice and neat. After sewing on, I will bring that yarn tail to the back of the amigurumi. For the other cheek, I had also left the yarn tail hanging in the back, and I will bring that yarn tail out through the same hole. Then I am going to tie a knot using these two tails. Then cut the excess yarn and hide the knot into the amigurumi. And now our sun is complete. I hope you guys liked this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.